Hi friends, welcome back. So, my cousin had a baby recently, and I was honestly just really inspired to do a little painting for her. They don't have a ton of space at their house right now, but I'm gonna do this little painting. I'll send my cousin a picture, and when they're ready for it, they can have it. I will happily send it to them as soon as they would like it. But this painting will be inspired by little baby Sailor Noel. Let's get started. Paint some foxes. I first had the idea to do a little painting for my cousin when she was probably, I don't know, 8.5 months pregnant. She was very pregnant by the time it occurred to me that a painting would be really fun to do for them. My cousins are significantly younger than me. I know a lot of people have the experience of, because your parents' siblings are all close in age generally, your cousins all tend to be close in age to you. My cousins are all, Ella, the one who had a baby, is the oldest of my cousins, and she is about 10 years younger than I am, I think. Maybe a little more than that. 10 or 11 years younger than I am, I believe. So I didn't get to spend a ton of time with them, with my cousins, when they were growing up. This particular uncle has 4 kids, and they are all amazing people. Ella is lovely. Olivia is one of the most fun people you will ever meet. And Zach and Sawyer are just the kindest young men on the planet. Amazing family, and I love them. They live very far away from me, so I don't get to see them very often, and I think that might be part of why it hadn't occurred to me that I could do something like this. I haven't actually shipped any of my artwork before, so it hadn't occurred to me that that was something that I could do. And shortly before Ella gave birth, I was thinking that I would like to get her something. And I just kept coming back to the one thing that I could give that would be very personal and a little bit more heartfelt than just, hey, do you need some cash? Was to do a painting. So I initially contacted my uncle to ask if Ella and Nate would want a painting for Sailor. And because I knew they were going to be crazy busy, and I was like, I don't want to try to put any of this on them right now, and I also didn't want them to feel like they had to say yes. So I didn't necessarily want it to come from me. My intention was that I was always going to do the painting. It's more of a, if they want it, it's theirs, and if they don't want it, that's totally fine, and this will be a commemorative piece for the birth of Sailor Noel. But I didn't want to put any pressure on them, especially when Ella was that far pregnant, because I know it can be a lot, and you get a lot of pressure in a lot of different directions, and I didn't want to add to any of that. So I just talked to my uncle, and I was like, do you think that this would be something they would like? And he ended up checking with them for me. And at the moment, they don't really have space for something like this, which is totally fair. I get it. And so I thought, I'll just go ahead and do it, and as soon as they're ready for it, they can let me know, and I will ship it to wherever they live at the time. And I think that's probably the best way to do it. So I ended up going through the color cubes as per usual, and I picked out some kind of vibrant color schemes for this one. I think whenever I think of Ella, I tend to think of very pretty, very soft, very feminine and elegant colors. And so I wanted to stick with the pinks and the purples and really bright, pretty, fun colors, because Ella is very bright, pretty, and fun. but also to have that really nice softness to it, because Ella is genuinely one of the sweetest people you will ever meet. And so I really wanted this to reflect something of her as well, because of course she's Sailor's mom. So I don't know when I will ever get to meet Sailor, but for now, this piece is kind of inspired by what I know of my cousin. And I haven't actually met her husband yet either. At some point, I need to. At some point, I will fly up there and see them, and I will meet both Nate and Sailor. So I kind of had to go off what I know of my cousin and what other people have told me of Nate to kind of plan this piece and get all of the decisions made for colors and placement and, just everything generally. So I did hills because that's kind of my jam. I usually do hills. And I was also thinking, Ella was born in Colorado, so it does make sense from that standpoint to do something hilly. And then obviously I live in a hilly area as well, so this could be kind of me in this whole thing, or like my personal touch on it would be that it's hills. But right now they live in the northeastern United States. So whenever I think of going to visit them, I just think of trees everywhere. And the two of those things are not super easy to combine with wanting to maintain the bright colors and the soft features. So I ended up with doing one kind of focal tree that I really wish I had changed the camera angle on when I was painting this, because you really can't see what I'm doing. So I did actually end up cutting a lot of the footage of me working on the tree because my hand is blocking it. I think next time I do another painting like this, if I end up working on the right side of the canvas, I will try to remember to move the camera to the other side. It is definitely more convenient to have the camera on this side, but you gotta do what you gotta do. So I spent a lot of time, as per usual, just doing a lot of the details on the tree. I wanted it to have these fun roots that I could kind of tuck the family of foxes into. I do wish that I had planned it a little bit better when I was doing the roots. I like how it turned out at the end. I think it came out really cute. But the more I was painting the tree, the more I was like, I could have done this a little bit differently and it would have made my life a lot easier at the end of this. So really, I just made my life more complicated, but, it works. As usual, by the time I got done with getting all the details on the tree, I did really like it. I have tendency to only do one root off to the side of a tree, so I'm trying to force myself to add more root details, because I do a lot of branch details and leaf details and tree trunk details, and then I just kind of have it end at the ground. And not all trees do that. Some trees obviously have the really thick roots and they look really cool and you get all of that really fun detail, and some of that was what I wanted to get in here, so I did put a little bit more effort into getting those roots in nicely. This was it was kind of a last minute piece, obviously, because she was 8.5 months pregnant by the time I thought of it, so she had her baby before I had even actually picked out what colors I was doing for this piece. And in some ways that made it a little bit easier for me to pick out colors and kind of decide what I wanted to do, because then I knew what the baby's name was. I had found out that it was a girl a couple of months ago, I think. My uncle told me then. So I knew it was a girl, and so I had kind of had the idea that I wanted to do pinks, but that was pretty much all that I knew. But then hearing her name, Sailor Noel, I wanted to add the kind of deeper blue sky and the stars. That just kind of for some reason, when I hear the name Sailor Noel, I think of blue and I think of stars. So I wanted to make sure that I did that with the sky, and I've really been enjoying doing moonlit scenes lately. So I also wanted to stick with something that I've been enjoying to make sure that the painting would come out really nicely, because as I've said multiple times, if you're not enjoying what you're painting, it's not going to come out as well as it will if you enjoyed what you were working on. I do my usual stippling technique with the leaves. I just love how this works out. I mixed, I believe, 3 different colors, so I have 2 different greens and then white, so that I would get that moonlight on the leaves and I would get a nice kind of depth with it. And then I decided to go back through with another shade of like a deep turquoise and add one by one little individual leaves just to give it a little bit more detail and a little bit more depth. I've done this on a couple of my paintings in the past, but I don't do it a lot. I think probably because a lot of the time I get to this stage and I'm really excited because I'm about to paint more of the focal pieces, and then I kind of want to move my attention onto those. You know how it is. So this time, because it is a commemorative piece, because it is for something in particular, I did want to put more time, effort, and energy into making sure that this was exactly what I wanted and that this came out exactly how I was picturing, and it had a really beautiful amount of detail and depth to it, because Sailor deserves to have an amazing little painting that, I mean, if Ella loves it and Sailor doesn't love it, then Ella can keep it for the rest of her life, and if Sailor does love it, then Sailor can keep it for the rest of her life, and this can be a piece that maybe gets passed down through generations that I got to do for my cousin. And I think that that's just a really special thing to do for someone. It just makes it really fun for me, the artist, to have something really special and really happy to be able to commemorate in this really fun piece of art. And then I hope, certainly, that Ella loves it as much as I do, and that it can be just a kind of family thing that we can pass down, or we can keep it as a part of our little family unit, that Sailor's birth means a ton to all of us. She is just an adorable little girl, and I'm sure that her parents are having a fabulous and exhausting time jumping into parenthood. I do wish that I could be there to help you guys. Not that I'm super well versed in children, but you know, I would jump in the deep end with you. I did find that doing some of the grassy details were easier if I flipped the canvas to the side. I'm trying to make myself turn the canvas more if I am having a hard time getting to the correct angle. I actually ended up hurting my arm a couple of weeks ago, shortly before I started on this painting. So I'm back in the glove full time again. But it's doing pretty well. It does make it difficult to get some of these angles, which is where, again, I'm just trying to remind myself that it is okay to turn the canvas. You gotta do what you gotta do. Again, my hand keeps blocking what I'm doing, but I spent a decent amount of time just adding little grassy details and little planty shapes, as I like to call them, just to give it a little bit more life and a little bit more depth. I like adding the grassy elements. I think that they add a really nice touch of life to a little hillside like this. Just adding that little bit of, look, there's a blade of grass over here. It just, even with it being a not necessarily realistic color of pink, it just looks really, really real when you see those little blades of grass and those little plant shapes that your brain goes, oh yes, of course, that's a little hill, and those are plants. It must just be lit like this because of the moonlight hitting it in a certain way. And I mean, I love how brains do that. I think that's so cool. And I love trying to play with shapes as an artist to make your brain think of certain things. I just think that's a hoot. So I spend a good amount of time doing stuff like this. Again, I am 100% blocking what I'm doing with my hand, but this is what you get for being right-handed and putting the camera on the right side of the canvas. In case you hadn't noticed, I have in fact rearranged my office to make it a little bit easier for me to film. I actually, with getting Jester, the rabbit, I needed to rearrange some furniture in my house to make space for her hutch. I didn't want to get her just a tiny little rabbit cage. I wanted her to have space since I do spend a decent amount of time out and about, especially on like the weekends. I wanted to make sure that she had space to run around even when, because if I'm home, she can run around the house, but if I'm not home, I don't trust her to not chew on stuff. So I needed to rearrange some furniture, which meant I needed to rearrange my office, which meant I got to make a new setup for filming. And I really like how this works. I think that it gives me a lot more space to move around and to change camera angles if I need to. So in future, I will try putting the camera on the left side of me while I'm filming. The only thing then is that I block the camera while I'm getting new paints, but that's only for a short amount of time, so not so bad. It took me a while to get the sketches in for the foxes for this one. I don't know what it was, but my hand was not having it. I think I spent 45 minutes just putting in the fox sketches, and then actually painting them took like 20 minutes. It was kind of annoying in the moment, but I do really love how they turned out in the end. I ended up going with a kind of peachy pinky shade for all of the foxes. It matches really well with the colors in the rest of the canvas, but pops well enough that your eye immediately goes to the foxes and not to like the moon or the trees or whatever. You go straight to the foxes. You go straight to the little characters that I want you to see. And of course, there is a little baby fox for Sailor. Because who am I to deny anyone a baby fox? I actually didn't have the opportunity to really talk to Ella about what they wanted or what colors they would like. Obviously, by the time I started this, she had already given birth, and again, I didn't want to jump in and be like, hi, I know you just gave birth, but what colors do you want? So rather than be a bother, I decided to just pick colors that I liked and that really spoke to me of Ella's personality. Like I said before, I just went with what I know of my cousin, and I think that this turned out really, really beautiful. I love the color that I ended up with for the foxes. I think they came out super cute. I really like this peachy pinky shade. I did use some quinacridone magenta as the low light, and I think that was a stellar decision. That came out perfectly. They were really, really fun to do. I haven't actually painted a fox in a minute. I did the quoll and I did the owls this year, but I haven't done a lot of foxes, and maybe that was where the issue was when I was trying to sketch these. I just hadn't done one in so long that I had to look at so many different reference photos. And then foxes, the male fox doesn't really stay with the female and the babies. So you can find a lot of pictures of mom and babies, but you can't really find any of two adults and babies. So I kind of just had to play with how to do that. So I have the mama fox kind of sitting protectively with little baby, and baby like really happily kind of nestled into mom. And then I have the papa fox just kind of sitting guard close to them, looking at them, and like he's going to keep them safe. I don't know why that just seemed like the kind of correct way to put them together. And I think it turned out really nicely. I am really hoping that Ella loves this as much as I do and that Nate loves it too. It's just going to live at my house until they're ready for it, but I am super happy to hang it on my wall until they're ready for it. I love it. I absolutely love it. I think it's so cute. I had a lot of fun working on this piece. I really enjoy, and I'm sure I've talked about this before, but I really enjoy doing paintings that are for specific people and for specific purposes. I think if I was ever going to start doing commissions, it would be stuff like this, where somebody's had something big going on in their life and they would like a painting to kind of commemorate or, you know, just remember and all that. I think that would actually be really fun for me. I would quite enjoy that. But I thought this turned out so well. It's just so cute. I haven't really done foxes in these colors before. I had kind of a hard time picking what color I was going to do, but I think it turned out really nicely. I hope that you love it, Ella and Nate, and that Sailor Noelle will also love it when she's a little older and can, you know, appreciate the foxes. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this video and continue ignoring that. It's not important yet.